Welcome back to another episode of the Playbook Sports Podcast presented by Playbook Sports. As always, I am your host, Jordan, and with me today, again, co-host, pretty much, write it down, Zak Sadik. What's good?
How's it going, Jordan? Another beautiful day in paradise.
Another beautiful day for fantasy football content. We
Yes,
are
sir.
popping off with this, me and Zach, in our goddamn bags the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we're making people some money for sure.
Okay, so the last podcast we did a couple sleepers, couple must drafts, couple do not drafts. Today we're going to do best value picks by round. Now, I want to state, Zach and I have just spoken. We may have different people. Everybody may have different people. It's all based off rankings, and it's based off of not just our rankings, ESPN, all these other platforms, and it's based off of mock drafts around where you see these players are going. I know a lot of people auto draft and mock drafts, but same. We will start. We're going to go 10 rounds. I'll go one round. You go one round. Keep going back and forth. So to start off round one, my best value pick in the first round is a little crazy. I'm going to say it's Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
And this is why. In the handful 10 to 15 mock drafts I've done, someone of his talent who last year and the 2 years before were the wide receiver one and the consensus number one overall pick is now going at pick 9, 10, maybe sometimes 8. If he falls to you at 8, 9, or 10, you are getting an unbelievable amount of value on a talent like Justin Jefferson. Doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball. Doesn't matter what team he's on. Doesn't matter what offensive scheme he's in. If you get him in any of those 3 final picks in the first round, the value, you take him immediately.
Coming back from injury too, you got to assume that he'll be healthy, and he definitely should perform.
And he just got paid.
Yep. So I definitely like that pick. I'm glad that you didn't go for the low-hanging fruit because technically Christian McCaffrey is a first-round pick with insane value regardless of where you draft him. So I also didn't go that specific. In round one, though, I kind of went broad. I went with any of the top 3 running backs because the running backs, as every fantasy player knows, is it's extremely top heavy every year. And once those first couple of guys start going, it kind of dries up really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as value in the first round, if you can end up with Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, or Breece Hall, you're setting yourself up for a great fantasy season because that kind of puts the running back position on lock, assuming everyone's healthy. And then you can worry about filling out the rest of your roster the rest of the way and not have to rely on hopeful breakouts later on.
Yeah, running back as the years go on is starting to be harder and harder to anticipate because once you get out of that second round and I think maybe it's Jahmyr Gibbs goes, your next best option is someone like Kenneth Walker, who you're very high on.
Or
If you leave
DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, if you leave your drafts with them as your RB1, you're okay, but you're not like ecstatic like you would be if you get a McCaffrey, a Breece Hall, a Bijan, a Saquon, a Jonathan Taylor. So if you don't get one of those top 3, top 6 running backs, you're kind of playing with fire and you're gambling. I'm good at gambling, but I'm not that good.
It's tough. And receiver is always much more deep than running back. So if you can secure yourself one of those 3 workhorses, you're feeling good at leaving the first round.
See, I have a tendency of in my drafts, I always draft a receiver first. This year in one of my leagues, I have the 9th pick. And I'm debating on if I'm going to go running back, get those 2, get 2 top 10 running backs out of the way because you can fill in receiver later on.
Definitely an option.
Round 2. Hit me with yours.
All right. So this one was tough. I felt like round 2, it was kind of, you could go any way. And also there's not very many players dropping because it's just the second round. So I went with a guy that I think that has really good value compared to where he's being discussed as far as, a fantasy player. And that's Michael Pittman of the Colts.
Oh God, you love that guy.
I added him as my number 10 NFL wide receiver going into the season, talent-wise, but I also think that he is an insane value in fantasy. He's not the biggest name. He's not the sexiest name. But here's a little quick stat for you. First of all, he ended up as, I think it was a top 10 fantasy receiver. I should have looked this up before, but I think he was top 10 last year as far as wide receivers go, in fantasy points. But you know who was throwing him the ball, right? He was being thrown by Gardner Minshew.
Mm-hmm.
Who's throwing him the ball now?
I mean, Anthony Richardson, but I'm
Top
torn on
five,
Anthony Richardson.
top 5 overall pick, Anthony Richardson, coming into hopefully a healthy season. And I got a little stat for you. Let me pull it up here. In the first, because Anthony Richardson played like 3.5 games before he was declared out for the season. In the first 3 games, Michael Pittman was not under 11 targets in any of those 3 games. In those same 3 games, 9 catches, 8 catches, 8 catches. So if you're going to tell me that in the super small sample size that we have of Anthony Richardson, that he's looking for Michael Pittman and Pittman is his guy, his go-to target, and now I get that for an entire season in an offense that should be better than it was last year, for a guy that was already top 10, top 15, I think that's insane value, and he's going under the radar, and he's slipping to the late second, early third in some drafts. So don't get cute with it. Michael Pittman is gonna put up numbers for you.
That pick right there solidifies that we're not going to have the same in any of these. My number 2 is another one that I don't think we should overthink. I have him here because the team has just announced their starting quarterback. We've spoken on this podcast. It was the starting quarterback that we wanted for him. It's Davante Adams. Another guy who the last handful of years was declared a top 5 fantasy pick is now falling towards the middle to end of the second round. We're overthinking. That is the one problem I have with fantasy is, as players of fantasy, we try to oversee the age drop-off. I'm going to draft these players until they show it to me. Davante Adams has shown no sign of an age affecting his play. Last year, he had a down year. It had nothing to do with his age. He was still getting targeted like a motherfucker. It was just Jimmy, dumbass Garoppolo, with his beautiful, sexy fucking face, was throwing him the fucking football, and he's not good at it. Now you have Gardner Minshew, who, although isn't a superstar quarterback, he made Michael Pittman a little relevant last year. He made these
Full
players.
circle.
That's why I laughed when you said Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew can easily produce a top 10 fantasy receiver, especially when it's a receiver like this that has top 3 potential.
Yep.
So I pray people don't overthink it and be like, okay, Davante Adams, he's on the Raiders. The Raiders aren't going to be that good. Don't overthink it. Targets, and they're going to throw him the ball.
I think it has to do with draft fatigue. Like guys see Davante Adams every year. You kind of get tired of it. You don't want to pick the same guy or target the same guy or think the same guy is going to, produce every year. But the guy keeps putting up numbers. So I have no problem with that. He was actually in consideration for me on this list as well.
So now we'll go on to round 3. And my round 3 was kind of hard for me.
What you got?
I have a rookie.
Ooh.
I have Marvin Harrison Jr.
Uh-huh.
And I have him here just because of what he can be. If he exceeds or even meets the expectations that all these other fantasy platforms are giving him, getting him in the 3rd round is a steal, because I guarantee you if he even barely meets expectations this year of what, someone like Field Yates is projecting for him, you're getting a potential 1st round fantasy receiver in the 3rd round this year. All you got to do is nut up and do it. I know he's a rookie. I know you have nothing to see, but Kyler Murray, he did this for DeAndre Hopkins. Kyler Murray did this for Hollywood Brown. Kyler Murray has done this for receivers already. And I think we may be able to argue that Marvin Harrison might be the most talented receiver Kyler Murray has seen. So
we'll have to see. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins was a solid receiver, but
We're
Marvin
gonna have to.
Harrison definitely has the potential to become the best receiver that Murray's ever played with. And I like that pick as well. That's a guy that, like you said, you're kind of walking in blindly. You're trusting the talent, but he'll be the number one receiver there by far. He has Trey McBride, at tight end taking up targets, but it doesn't hurt having a little, safety net taking defenses away from you. He's definitely in a position where he can put up elite numbers immediately. So I have no problem with going after Harrison in these drafts, and I think we're up to a good start so far. All these are kind of knocking out of the parks. My number three, my third round best value in these drafts, I am going with Devon Achane.
Really?
He is falling into the third round in a lot of drafts, a lot of mock drafts that I've been doing. He is a guy that is coming back from injury. Obviously, showed out last year, was one of, if not the most efficient running backs in NFL history last year. With every touch, he was giving you 7+ yards. So I mean, you have that plus hopefully a full healthy season, plus another year in the offense, and you have a recipe for potential breakout here. He's young. Hopefully he stays healthy, and he should be the number one back in that offense. Raheem Mostert, good player. Obviously, he has injury struggles as well. But coming off of last year, I think that Devon Achane takes that number one role here in Miami.
I like that pick, and I want that pick to be true. I'm a little scared of Devon Achane. I feel like third round is really high for me because I have this sick feeling right here that they're still going to use the absolute shit out of Raheem Mostert. Just knowing Mike McDaniel, and he's comfortable with Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert knows Mike McDaniel.
It'll be a committee. It will be a committee. They even have the rookie Jalen Wright that'll figure in here. But last year, both Mostert and Achane averaged over 17 fantasy points a game. There's room.
Freaks.
There's room for fantasy points in that backfield.
All right. Okay. So I got Jefferson, Adams, Harrison. You have
the top three running backs. You can find those top three in our tiered rankings list on the website. In the second round, Michael Pittman. Third round, Devon Achane.
All right. So hit me with your number 4. I hope we have the same one here.
Man.
We don't. I already know we don't.
We might. I was stuck between two. I'll just give both. How about that?
Tell me the one you didn't pick.
Okay, the one I didn't pick is Kenneth Walker.
Okay.
A guy we discussed earlier. A guy we discussed earlier a little bit. I think that he's still young. He's a year removed from any sort of major injury, and in that offense, he's going to get plenty of touches to show off. So I like him, but the true guy, the guy that I can't avoid taking in drafts is Stephon Diggs. He is getting knocked down draft boards because he's in a stacked offense with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Well, I mean, let me ask you something. If you have a number one receiver in one of the best offenses in the league in Buffalo, and then you trade for him to come to your team, are you just going to ignore him and not throw him the ball? No.
And let me add to that. They didn't pay him. He's in a contract year.
He's in a contract year, so he's going to want to get touches.
Exactly.
People are saying
even more.
People are using that as an argument to why he won't be getting that many touches because the Texans aren't keeping him long term. But the way I look at it is he's going to want to show out in his contract year, and you don't trade for a wide receiver making $20 million a year to sit him on the shelf and not use him. He's a guy that quickly became Kirk Cousins' favorite receiver. He's a guy that quickly became Josh Allen's favorite receiver. He is a great route runner, and I guarantee you CJ Stroud's going to love throwing him the ball. Nico Collins is good. He did a lot of his work last year with not as many targets as a lot of top receivers. So you can say that Nico Collins is efficient. But Stephon Diggs is that volume guy. He's that guy that you just pepper him all game long, and he's going to, you look up and he ends up with 10 plus receptions on any given Sunday. So I love Stephon Diggs in the fourth round. I think letting him slip that far is a mistake, and I'm taking him in every draft I can.
So I do not have Stephon Diggs here. I have someone who a lot of my guys are all former first round fantasy picks. And this is another one. The best quarterback in the game is throwing him the ball. The best quarterback in the game loves to throw him the ball. I'm taking Travis Kelce in the fourth round. And I also want to be clear, I'm doing this as if I did all my mock drafts with pick 9. If I'm able to get Travis Kelce with the 9th pick in the fourth round, don't overthink it. I know maybe it's a little high to reach for a tight end, but if you can get a tight end of that magnitude, somebody who Mahomes looks for in the red zone every single time, this guy gets 6 to 7 to 8 receptions every single game. He's unguardable. Why not get an easy 15 points from your tight end position every week when you can?
Well, first of all, if he's there in the fourth round, you take him. But I also don't want to mislead the public in thinking that he's going to be there in the fourth round in very many drafts. If
That's why I stated mock drafts. Mock drafts. Got to keep
if
saying
Travis
it. Travis
Kelce is there in the fourth round, like you take him and you to start counting your money now, because that's a slam dunk steal. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually happens out there. Obviously, that's great value if you do find him, for sure.
So now we'll go on to round 5. We're at the halfway point. And here is where I'm going to give you Stephon Diggs, because I've been getting him in that fourth round, and then I come right back and I have the second pick in the fifth round.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking Stephon Diggs immediately.
Mm-hmm.
He should be picked in the fourth round, like you said. But if I'm going to get him in the fifth round, like fantasy, when you lose your fantasy leagues, it's because you overthink. Everything bad in life comes from overthinking and doing drugs. And we're not doing drugs, but we are overthinking. Draft talent. You can always trade it. You can always look on your waiver wire. If you have talent like this, you draft it immediately. Don't think twice about it. Draft it. Tell all your friends they don't know ball, and send your Venmo in the group chat immediately.
Yep, for sure. Fourth round, fifth round, at that 4 or 5 turn, I've seen him available a lot. No complaints there, obviously. I think he's great value. For my number 5th or 5th round draft value, I'm going with, again, I'm kind of cheating here. I'm taking groups of players, but if you're in the 5th round and any of the elite quarterbacks are still there, take them. Because you see, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, even Anthony Richardson, those guys are getting way pushed up the board into the third, sometimes the second round. In most leagues, though, once those huge flashy names are gone, you get guys like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes sitting there for you in the 5th round. And that's usually when you want to take quarterbacks. That's when they should be going based on their value. You don't want to really take a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round. But if you get to the 5th and there's any of those elite guys left, you got to snag them. Because once you wait and that quarterback run happens and all the elite guys are gone, you're going to end up sitting back and waiting, because then you're not going to take another quarterback until like 8th or 9th round. So if you have the ability to get an elite quarterback at 5, I love that spot for quarterback. If not, if you end up in the 5th round or 6th round and you haven't taken a quarterback yet, your best bet is to wait at that point and just take a Dak Prescott or a Joe Burrow later on in the draft.
I think you're up with 6 now.
That was 5, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So round 6, best value, George Pickens of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I knew that was coming. I like it.
He is obviously sliding down in draft boards because of the Brandon Ayuk rumors. We've spoken about him in previous podcasts. Scared money don't make money. George Pickens, there's so much smoke around the whole Ayuk trade that you can't really say he's going to go one place or the other. So right now, if Pickens is falling to me in the 6th round, you get the number one receiver in a I was going to say Russell Westbrook, Russell Wilson offense. Russell Wilson can support top receivers. We've seen DK Metcalf, we've seen Tyler Lockett light it up. He can most definitely support high-end receiver talent, and George Pickens being the only show in town, I want all of that. You're getting a wide receiver one in what should be a better offense, a decent offense compared to last year, the last couple years. No Deontay Johnson. All those targets are going to Pickens. Give me all of that.
I'm going to switch my hat around for this because now we're in crunch mode. Round 6, like you said, I think here, just based off of what I've been doing, I've been able to get quarterbacks at this position, and I have been seeing myself take a lot of Joe Burrow. I am so in on Joe Burrow this year. I know he doesn't provide close to anything with his legs, but we have seen him be a top 7 fantasy quarterback just because he can throw the ball for 400 yards every game. When you have a Jamar Chase, you have a T. Higgins. They don't have Tyler Boyd anymore, which is upsetting, but they did just get a much better receiving tight end, and Joe Burrow does love to throw to his tight end. Joe Burrow in round 6, I usually do get a quarterback in round 4 or 5. I'm one of those that reaches for him because I just want to get it over with. But I'm trying to do stuff differently this year in all my mock drafts. And Joe Burrow, Dak Prescott, all those guys are also available, like you said, in round 5. I'm starting to notice that they are available in round 6 as well. So 5 or 6 is a good spot for these quarterbacks, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, round 7. This one you're going to like. Terry McLaurin. Dude, this fucking iPad thing you got going on here is tripping me out. For people that are listening to the audio, Zach has an iPad, and every time he backs up, the fucking camera backs all the way up. And every time he gets close, it zooms in. It's weird as shit. He's not touching anything.
It's like I got Stanley Kubrick filming my podcast over here.
So
I reacted like that.
Yep.
I reacted like that because I have McLaurin as well.
Okay, thank God. We have one the same. I have a feeling we're going to have the same reasoning. You're having a wide receiver 1. He has proven to be quarterback proof. He's had consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with, I don't even know the name of his quarterbacks, with Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz. But now he's got Jaden Daniels, someone who everybody's extremely high on. People are picking him as the offensive rookie of the year already, and he hasn't even thrown it down yet. Terry McLaurin, who's proven to be quarterback proof, finally has a good quarterback. And you're telling me that you can get a wide receiver 1 in a heavy passing offense in the 7th round? Here we go again. I'm going to keep saying it. Don't overthink it. Draft the talent.
Terry McLaurin is also someone I go to any chance I get. I got sniped in my last draft, and I'm still pissed off about it because he was almost at my pick, and I'm trying to get him anywhere I can. But since we matched there, I'll throw out a different name. We're in round 7 right now. If you're not going after the McLaurins or some kind of value like that, I really like going for tight end here. This is a range where sometimes Kincaid falls to the 7th. If Kincaid is gone off of Buffalo, Kyle Pitts is usually around in the 7th round. And so those are 2 guys that if you're looking to get one of the last few high-end tight ends, round 7 is a good spot to go.
I like that. Tight end is also a very critical position, much like the running backs. The only difference is the running backs, all the good ones go in the beginning. Tight ends, the good ones start to go in the middle. So it's like if you don't get one of those top 7 tight ends, you're pulling a flyer every week for a different tight end. You just want the consistency. Yep. You want the set it and forget it ones.
Exactly.
So round 8. I think we might match here too.
Maybe.
Xavier Worthy.
Wow. Okay, so we're doing different mocks because I actually have Xavier Worthy as my round 10 value.
Okay. Yeah. No. Well, I'm picking him in the 8th round. So if I don't pick him, who knows? Maybe he would fall to me. But seeing somebody, especially with the Hollywood Brown news, seeing a wide receiver in a Patrick Mahomes offense drop that low, like I'm taking it every time. I don't even care about the talent. It's just because he is going to be the wide receiver one in a Patrick Mahomes offense. I know Travis Kelce's there. I know Pacheco's there. But like you've said many times on the podcast, you're pretty much giving Patrick Mahomes a Tyreek Hill type architect of a player. We saw what Tyreek Hill did there. This
Yep.
guy's just younger and
Yep.
probably a little taller. Tyreek's a midget.
So for all the reasons that you mentioned, and except for the speed, but for all those same exact reasons, my round 8 draft value is Rashee Rice.
Okay.
I think that he's fallen in drafts because of the off the field stuff. People are baking into the ADP. Will he be suspended? Will he not be suspended? It's looking like he's not going to be suspended. But even if he were suspended for a few weeks, you're getting potentially wide receiver one in a Patrick Mahomes offense for what 12 weeks out of the year, even if he got suspended. So either of those receivers, I'm definitely cool with. This is such a great value for, like I said, potentially the number one receiver with the best quarterback possibly in NFL history. No brainer. Don't overthink it. Draft good offenses.
The only thing that's kind of rough about, like, if say once all three of them get healthy, you're drafting them, you're like, oh my God, I got a number one receiver in a Patrick Mahomes offense. There's going to be a game where Hollywood Brown scores 30. Then the next week, Rashee Rice is going to score 40. Then the
Yeah.
week after that, Xavier Worthy. Then, you got to sprinkle in the 3 games of Travis Kelce. So it's like, you're not going to get consistency. You'll probably get a consistent 12 to 15 out of them every week. But that boom game, everybody's going to take turns. So if you're
You're right.
have Worthy and I have Rashee Rice, it's all a matter of who Mahomes wants to win that week, you or me.
Very true. Yeah, that is also probably why they're so far down on the list, but you can't go wrong taking a lottery ticket in that offense.
Uh-huh. So now hit me with your round 9.
Round 9, you might already know where I'm going with this, or you won't be surprised at least. But I'm going with my man from up in Tennessee, Ty Spears.
I did not know that, and I do not have him.
I think we talked about him in the last podcast about draft targets, but he's a guy that should be running back one in the Tennessee offense. They have a Tennessee. They have a run first offense with the offensive coordinator. So he's in line for a big year. I loved him coming out of college. He looked great in the offense last year in the times that he was used. And I actually heard this stat today that he was in the game on 52% of snaps last season for Tennessee. The same team that had Derrick Henry on the roster, Ty Spears was playing more snaps. So it's a guy that they obviously love. They have Tony Pollard, so he'll take some touches, but Ty Spears is a much better player than Pollard. And I think that he's in line to have a huge season, possible breakout here before it happens.
So it looks like round 9 is where we're going back to old podcast, because here I have Kyler Murray. Let me tell you this. If you're someone that's just totally insane and you're like, I'm not drafting a quarterback until I fill every other position out. I'm talking both running backs, both receivers, my flex, my tight end, and a couple bench spots. If you're telling me I'm getting Kyler Murray in the 9th round, I'm telling everyone in my league to send me my money immediately. Because that means while everybody's reaching for these quarterbacks, like, oh, I got to get Josh Allen. Okay, you take Josh Allen. I'm gonna go take Stephon Diggs there. Somebody in round 6 is like, oh, I'm gonna take Joe Burrow. Oh, okay, I'll take Terry McLaurin. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're filling all this out. Your bench is elite. Your starters are probably going to be elite. And then you're getting a potential top 10 fantasy quarterback in the 9th round. Someone that we've said on this podcast. We've seen him be able to be a top 5 fantasy quarterback. Round 9 for Kyler Murray, because of what he can do, because of what he can do with his legs, because of the weapons he has, because of the offense he's in. Round 9 is insane value for somebody with this much potential.
100% agree. No pushback on that one. You ready for round 10?
Yeah, I'll let you start with this one.
So I already mentioned Xavier Worthy, but just in that same vein, I like Lad McConkey, the wide receiver in San Diego. He should be wide receiver one there. Don't trust Quentin Johnston. Don't trust what's the other receiver? Josh Palmer. I think in just a few weeks, Lad McConkey is going to be wide receiver one for Justin Herbert.
I am so sick. I've been hearing about Josh Palmer for 3 years, and I'm over it.
Yeah, I'm done
I
with
have
him.
him on my dynasty team, but that league is terrible. I hate it. I don't want to be in it anymore because I think Josh Palmer is going to be my like every week flex. But here is somebody, I don't have somebody young here. I have somebody kind of older, another one that I'm not going to give up on until I see the age drop off. We've mentioned him a couple times in this podcast alone. And in round 10, I have DeAndre Hopkins.
Interesting.
I'm expecting Will Levis to be a lot better this year. You know, coming out into the draft, he was supposed to be a top 10 pick. He was supposed to be a first round pick, nonetheless. So the talent is obviously there. We know he has a cannon. I know they just signed Calvin Ridley, but DeAndre Hopkins is a different type of animal. Hold on, Dad's in the middle of something.
Speaking of animals,
I lost my train of thought. He's so cute.
DeAndre Hopkins is a different type of animal.
Yeah, different type of animal. And I have him here because, first of all, the talent at round 10, you know, why not keep a flyer like that on your bench? But I'm also anticipating Will Levis to have a really, really good year. Probably not like a top 10 fantasy quarterback year, but I think he's going to be able to make Hopkins and both Calvin Ridley, maybe even Tyler Boyd, a little bit more fantasy relevant than they have been in the last year.
For sure. And in the few games that the quarterback, golly, memory of an old man.
Tannehill.
Who's the quarterback in Tennessee? You just
Will
said
Levis?
Levis. In the few games that Will Levis popped
It's been
last year.
45 seconds, Zach.
Listen, I'm thinking of every other player on that roster except for Will Levis. If you look at the games that he popped last year, his primary target was DeAndre Hopkins. They built up a chemistry. He has crazy good hands, and similar to the Devontae Adams thing, yeah, age is becoming a thing for him, but the talent is still there, and I expect him to have a pretty decent season in that offense.
Especially depending on like who's in your league. Say you're playing with somebody that they like football, but they don't know every intricate detail of fantasy football. You draft a big name like that and you offer him as trade bait. They're like, oh my God, he's offering me DeAndre Hopkins for Terry McLaurin? What the hell? Like, accept. You're like, gotcha, nerd.
It's about psychology.
So that wraps up our 10-round best value draft picks. I think maybe if Zach's down, maybe we will try to get one more fantasy podcast out there before big time drafts start. I think next week, probably. I know for a fact I have 2 in a week.
Yeah, this weekend is probably a big fantasy draft weekend.
Ooh, maybe we'll do another one, Zach. I'm having some fun.
Let's do it.
All right, Zach, is there anything else you would like to say?
Check out the website, full rankings. You can download and print it out. Take it to your draft if you're traveling for it. It's filled out with tiers, so you can look at what range are you going to target certain positions, and it's all free.
All free. Free 99. Who doesn't like free stuff? Yes, along with on the website, on our Twitter and our Instagram, we are putting on graphics of each individual skill tiers. So he has quarterbacks, say he has 10 tiers. Our graphics will have maybe 7 of the top whatevers. Use them. Please. They're free. We work hard on them. Zach works hard. I get him on podcasts to talk more about it. He probably hates when he sees a text from Jordan on his phone because he's like, oh, what does he want now?
It's fantasy season, baby. It's time to work.
Exactly. All right. That's all we got. Zach, appreciate you, my guy.
See you.